Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Thursday, so you know what that means. We're going to have another educational Thursday presentation, and today is a very, very important presentation for our folks in San Francisco as they're having the San Francisco special election, and Eve's been here before, and she told everybody she will be back as we're getting close for this special election, and we just want to make sure that all of our community folks are involved with this process. Not only is it Black History Month, but knowing the historic issues when it comes to having our voices heard and making sure that we do our civil duties. So just excited to have the Special Election Department back here today. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get ready to get into our announcements today, and then we'll get into tonight's segment. Just first of all, I just want to say what an amazing day it has been across the Bay Area. The sun has been out, the greenery on the mountains, the clear sky, and the sun, and I'm a lot of wind earlier, so my allergies has been acting up, but what a beautiful day here in the Bay Area. 75 degrees across. I mean, just a wonderful day to be out in community and convening with folks. So we were excited about the sunshine. With the sunshine comes that notice and information knowing that we're going to have another drought year because there's been no rain in the forecast. But, just happy to see folks out and the weather is nice. So just excited about that. Thank you, community, for reaching out. All the love for the loss of my mom. Just want to continue to express how much I appreciate the community. It's been a challenging week. And, for all my folks that just been stepping up, reaching out in the community. Love all y'all. Y'all are the best. So just excited about that. And we'll jump into our announcements. One of the things we want to jump into is on Black History Today on February 10th in 1964, 12 days of debate and voting. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and it was voted on 290 to 130 after Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963. That's today in our Black history. Also in San Francisco and throughout the Bay Area, there's been a number of violent shootings on our freeways, shootings in cars. I know you all seen a tremendous story. We shared it on our social media handles of the young baby that was killed by excessive force of police officers. There's been a lot of violence taking place, and it just continues to happen today in San Francisco. This morning, there was one person killed, one person injured in an apparent shooting that was taking place near the Great Highway this morning. The police got on the scene, found a man with gunshot wounds. They said there was gunfire. About 20 minutes later, they found another suspect, another car who was dealing with gunshot wounds. Again, this violence in our community is just way too much. We got to do something. We got to come together and figure out how we can deal with some of these issues in our community without having to resort to gun violence. Also want to give a huge shout out to the Balboa High School football team. They won state championship. Yesterday, they was honored at City Hall by Mayor London Breed. And, just beautiful to see our high school students still being acknowledged, doing the things that they did. So shout out to Balboa football team for the amazing season that they had this year and bringing that state championship home to San Francisco. For our both sides of the conversation announcements, you can continue to support us on our Smile Amazon. If you want to choose us as one of the charitable organizations, you can utilize us at the Smile Amazon and we'll get support, no extra cost to you. But definitely a way to support the organization and the work that we're doing for community. Also, our Giving Tuesday pledge is still going on through the end of this month. So if you'd like to support that way, you still continue to support both sides of the conversation through our Giving Tuesday efforts. Community events that's coming up, East Oakland Collective, both sides of the conversation, a number of other communities partners for the Feed the Hood food distribution is happening Saturday, February the 12th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 7800 MacArthur Boulevard. If you want more information, please go to the East Oakland Collective website. Also, the Both Sides of the Conversation, East Oakland Collective presents the Both Sides of the Bay Family Bowling Day, which is happening next Saturday, February 19th from 2 to 5 p.m. at Seabow and Community. If you haven't registered yet, please register. This is a free community event. But we're getting close to our max number. I just got a final numbers. We are getting close. So if you want to be a part of this event, you want to come out and bowl and hang, please use the Eventbrite Eventbrite registration link. It's in our social media handles. We'll make sure we get it out to community folk to register. Also, the African American Culture District, both sides of the conversation, SF Black Wall Street is doing the Valentine Spiritual Conversation Paint Night, which is happening this Saturday, February 12th. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 1315 Fillmore Street. Oh, this is going to be a great event. Hope you guys can get out there. There are still tickets available. If you would like to sip and paint and have a real conversation about love and relationship, this is going to be a firecracker event. We'll be out there excited about that. There's also a number of other events that are taking place in community. Also, San Francisco Black Wall Street and African American Culture District is doing the SF Family Photo Day. If you want to be a part of that, please come out to 101 Horn Avenue. It's going to be at the shipyards along Ennis Avenue, February the 27th at 1 p.m. And then after that, they're going to have the Hombre Block Party. And they'll be doing that at Big H Barbecue right there in the parking lot at Gerald Street and 3rd Street here in San Francisco. Our next show coming up, we're going to have Dante King coming up February 17th. And then we'll be giving you the announcements for our next Educational Thursday show for next week. And then also on February 20th, we'll be having our Black History Sunday conversation with the Black Panther Party legacy keepers. So we are looking forward to that as well. Excited about some of the things that's come in place, a few more partnerships and things that we are working to put together. So we are excited to be in community. And just want to give a huge shout out to all of the Mega Black family, SF Block family, all the folks that are coming together, organizing. People say we can't work together and get things done, but there's a lot of work happening. So we are excited how our community is stepping up in this time of need and making sure that our folks is getting awareness, information, and education. And it starts with presentations like tonight. So with that being said, I'm going to close my mouth, go ahead and bring up tonight's presenter. And she's been here before. She's not new to both sides of the conversation. She's been here before. She's always about community and making sure that our folks get the right information and get through all of the processes. With that being said, we're going to bring up Miss Eve Pena from the San Francisco Election Department to talk about the special election and what's going on in San Francisco. So with that being said, Eve, welcome back, and I'm happy to see you.
Happy to see you too, John. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to share information that our communities need in order to have access to that ballot box. Also, as we're approaching the Voters' Right Act of 1965, again, happy Black History to everybody. So thank you again for having me. I'm excited to share tonight about the February 15th, 2022 consolidated special municipal election taking place here in the city. And I'm excited to share my presentation. So, with that, the proposed agenda that I have for us this evening is we'll revisit what the registration qualifications look like, and of course, still the opportunities that voters have to be able to access that ballot box and still continue to come and register to vote and participate here at the City Hall Voting Center, or wait until Election Day this upcoming Tuesday and vote at your local polling place. We'll also examine the February 15th election ballot so that folks know exactly what will appear on that ballot, and what voters are eligible to vote for. And we'll also talk about again the opportunities that the department is offering voters to be engaged, to participate, the resources that we have available, the options that voters have to participate in a matter that works for you. So with that, to revisit the registration qualification. So, for a traditional voter, you do have to be a United States citizen to participate in all contests that are on the ballot, a current resident of California, at least 18 years old on election day, not currently in prison for a felony conviction, and not currently found mentally incompetent to vote by a court. So even though somebody can register at any time, whether it's done online through registertovote.ca.gov or by filling out a paper voter registration form, it's important to note that for the upcoming February 15th election, the registration deadline has passed. So that means basically there won't be any opportunity any longer to mail you a vote by mail ballot, but you can still participate by coming in person to either the City Hall Voting Center, and we're open to now through Election Day, or participating on Election Day also at one of the local polling places that's nearest you. So I wanted to share, though, that even though the voter registration deadline has passed, it's not too late to participate. You just have to do so in person. And if you wanted to check your voter registration, you were able to do that or make any updates to it too for future elections by contacting the department directly at 415-554-4375. Or at the state level, you can check your registration at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. And here at the local level, really the best source of information for you as a voter to look at your voter profile is going to be the voter portal at sfelections.org/voter portal. So tonight too, I want to unpack a little bit about registration for people under special circumstances, because for this upcoming election, it will also be an opportunity for folks in our communities who are non-citizens to register and be eligible to vote in the local school board election contests only if they meet a specific set of eligibility criteria. I also want to continue to share information about our unhoused neighbors. It's so important that they're aware and that they know exactly how to register to vote so that they too can participate and be engaged in the process and have a say in the decision process that is being made for them. We'll also talk a little bit about voters involved in the justice system. And I know last time I was here, it was an opportunity to introduce recent changes to the law. So we'll revisit that again this evening. And of course, for voters that are in college, so our high school students that will be transitioning, what does that look like, as they're thinking of, what college to go to, or even if you find yourself thinking in the future, you might want to travel, opportunities for you to still register and vote and participate, even if you're not locally here in the city, but you still consider yourself a San Franciscan. And then we'll also talk a little bit about voters that need to remain confidential for their own personal security. And we'll share a program and resource for this set of folks. So while we won't go into a deep dive in all of these themes tonight, I do want to continue to invite you to visit sfelections.org/registration so you can take a closer look at the mechanics of these programs. But let's start reviewing about non-citizen voting for the upcoming election. So it was back in 2016 that voters passed Proposition N by a healthy margin, which allowed non-citizens to vote only in those school board contests that would appear in the ballots here in the city. And as of last year, the right to vote for this group of folks has actually become permanent. So before it was just temporary in 2016 when this originally passed, but now it's something that will be a San Francisco thing moving forward into the future. What's different for this group of voters compared to your traditional voter is that in this case, the folks need to be a parent of a child under the age of 19 who currently resides in the San Francisco area too. So it can't just be a parent who has children overseas, for example. The child has to be here in San Francisco living with that legal guardian. And also, it's an opportunity for folks that, aren't even in public school, but if they're in private school too, these folks can have a say in what's happening with the school board. So that's the only difference for, compared to your traditional voter. And again, it's only one contest that this group of voters is eligible to participate so that they can have a say in the decisions that are being made for their children. For our unhoused neighbors, so, it's still for us very important to continue sharing information with the community that even though you don't have a physical living address, that doesn't mean that you can't register to vote. That doesn't mean that you can't participate. It just looks a little bit different. So, for example, in your voter registration form in section 4, where you're providing an address, you can simply use cross streets to indicate the location where this voter spends the most time in. So the example that we have here on screen is that this neighbor finds themselves at the corner of California and Palm Street, and just identifying California and Palm would be sufficient. And then, of course, the options that folks have. So even if somebody is transitioning between homes, is couch surfing, whatever the situation is that this voter is experiencing, not having an actual address, a permanent address, doesn't mean that they can't participate. Folks are able to provide, for example, a PO box address, a shelter address, a business address, an alternative address where they are able to get mail. And if they can't get mail, then you can still participate in person, and lots of opportunities to be able to do that. So for college students, or if you perhaps in the future find yourself traveling and whatnot, while folks can be, for example, in a dorm somewhere else, so for example, UCLA, but you are a San Franciscan, so you can register either in either county, wherever you feel you spend the most time. What's important to note is that you can't register in multiple counties at the same time. So you do have to make a selection for one of or the other. And folks are able to do that. Just like we shared the example of an unhoused neighbor, that mailing address could be anywhere in the world where you would be able to get your ballot. So important to note that there's options, even if you're not currently here in San Francisco, you can still participate if you consider yourself a San Francisco voter. For the voters that are involved in the justice system. So last time that I was here, it was exciting. It was new. We were able to share that voters passed Proposition 17 back in 2020, which amended the state constitution to allow otherwise eligible residents who are on parole to register to vote. And for us, for example, we're out there conducting outreach in the community. We were at the Restorative Justice Conference not that long ago, and I actually had an engagement with an individual who mentioned that they had waited 15 years in order to be able to register and vote, and they had been freed, for a couple of years now. But this gentleman didn't know that his right to vote could be restored. So we want to continue sharing with our communities that basically it's only those that are currently locked up that don't have the right to vote. But if somebody is on probation, on parole, they have the right to go ahead and register to vote and start participating in that process. So for voters that have personal security issues that want to remain confidential so that they can also exercise their right to vote, they still can. So the California Secretary of State administers the Save at Home program, and more information could be found through their phone line or at the Secretary of State's website. Their phone number is 877 322 5227, and this would allow basically somebody that needs to register to vote but remain confidential the opportunity to receive their ballot, their election mail, their personal, information at a secure alternative mailing address. So a really good program if folks need to take advantage of that service. By now we're 5 days ahead of the upcoming election, so we have anticipated that most voters who are registered at their current address would have already received their voter information pamphlet, and this is also available online if somebody needed to access that copy digitally. For example, too, if folks don't necessarily want to read through the entire digest, folks can take advantage of the audio version that's available on our website. And again, you can link to that through our voter portal, but the voter information pamphlet will basically walk you through what is happening at the local level. So this upcoming election is a local election. So because it's a municipal election, the voter information pamphlet is the only digest that the voter will receive. So now let's take a closer look and unpack a little bit for you the February 15th election ballot so that we can know what you're able to participate and vote on. For the February 15th election ballot, you will have 3 school board recall contests listed on the ballot. So there will be one question for each of the 3 members of the school board that are being recalled. And again, I want to remind you that this is the only contest that a non-citizen would be eligible to vote for. Besides that, a traditional voter will also see the assessor recorder contest on their ballot and the member of for the State Assembly District 17 contest. So let's look at that a little bit closer. So for the school board contest, not that long ago, it was brought up to the attention of the Department of Elections that there was a group of individuals that were seeking the recall of 3 school board members. So on the ballot, voters will have this question listed 3 times, one for each of those members that are being recalled. So shall this school board member be recalled, removed from the school board for the San Francisco Unified School District? And voters will have an opportunity to vote either yes or no on the recall. And if most voters select yes to the recall, then what will happen is that the mayor, she will be the one to appoint the replacement candidate to serve the rest of that recalled member's seat. So basically, their term would end again at the end of the year. And in November of this year, November 8th, 2022, it will be back on the ballot for folks to vote for the next 4 years who the school board members are. But for this February 15th election, for those 3 members that are being recalled, it's the mayor who will get to select the replacement candidate to serve the rest of the term. For the assessor recorder contest, so just a little refresher for San Francisco voters, for some of our local offices, we use ranked choice voting to elect certain members of a couple of, I believe, eight local contests. So the assessor recorder is one of them, and voters will basically see this question in a grid-like format. So to the left-hand side, you will see the list of the candidates. In this example, we have Ocean and Mountain, for example, and this is an opportunity for San Franciscans to really to exercise their choice, their preference, and rank the candidates as they would prefer to see them. So either making a first choice, second choice, and currently the list for assessor recorder is quite short. There's only a few members running, but for other elections that use ranked choice voting, San Franciscans can choose up to the top 10 candidates. Just a little refresher on ranked choice voting. So for the member of State Assembly for District 17, I want to share this image that it's only the east side of the city that will be voting for the Assembly District. And a lot of these areas will be our local areas, right? Your District 10, your District 11, your District 9 and 6, for example, where a lot of our communities tend to be. So this is the contest that will appear on the ballot for the east side of the city. And I want to continue to share that if, for example, no candidate receives the majority of the vote, so if nobody gets 50% or more of the vote for the state assembly, then there will be another special election in April where the top two vote getters in this contest for February 15th would go on to the April ballot. Again, that's only if nobody gets the majority. So I want to share that in case you see that on the ballot and you think, well, why are we having another April election? Then if we do, it's because nobody received the majority of votes in the February 15th. So now let's talk a little bit more about some recent changes to the law and what voting options are available for voters. I want to also introduce one new service that the Department of Elections is offering for San Franciscans, and we'll take a quick look at language and accessibility resources so that voters know all of the ample services that we are offering to make sure that you have access to that ballot. So, per current law, there was changes last election where now all voters will automatically receive their ballots in the mail for all future elections, starting with this upcoming February 15th, 2022 election. So. Every voter ahead of election day, and for this February 15th election, around January 17th is when voters started receiving their vote by mail packets. So, what exactly are voters getting? They're getting not only the ballot itself, but they are also getting an instructional sheet that will list the voting process for them. They'll get a postage paid return envelope so that no voter has to come out of pocket for paying for a stamp to return that ballot for yourself. You will get that included in your packet, and then of course that very popular I voted sticker. So moving forward, everybody who is registered by the voter registration deadline will automatically receive their vote by mail packet. But here in San Francisco, again, we make voting so accessible that there's still opportunities to even vote in person. But, for a lot of folks that are still, kind of wary of Omicron and additional, viruses out in community, you have the opportunity to vote safely from home with your vote by mail packet or from the comfort of your most favorite spot. Another resource available to voters too, and now permanently, so all voters will have access to the accessible vote by mail system, where before this was something, a service that only folks with disabilities in the military would be able to take advantage of. Now voters all in San Francisco can access the sfelections.org/access website, and this is not online voting, but it is an opportunity for you. For example, if you spilled coffee on your ballot and you need to replace it, and now we've passed the replacement ballot deadline. So this is one way where you can go ahead and print out your ballot. This is also a way, for example, for voters that need to view larger print can increase that font size and be able to print their ballot that way. So again, a voter does have to have access to a printer because you will have to physically mail that ballot back, either using that postage paid envelope that we've provided for you. You can make accommodations to receive another envelope as well, or you can provide your own if you need to. So the sfelections.org/access, another great tool all voters have access to be able to, make their selections and then return it to the department for counting. What's most important is that regardless if you're using the vote by mail ballot that you received from the department or the accessible vote by mail ballot, it's so important to complete your ballot, put it back in the envelope, and complete the outside of your envelope. So important that you sign that envelope because really your signature is what we match to your voter registration and also any additional perhaps signatures that you might have with the department. And that's how we're able to verify your signature and count your vote. So important to remind voters to sign your envelope and seal it and mail it back on time. So speaking about mailing it back on time, the postage return, it has to be postmarked no later than February 15th, 2022 in order for your ballot to count. So very important to note that voters have the opportunity not just to drop it through a blue USPS box, but a new service that the city is offering is official ballot Dropbox, and that will be my next slide. But of course, there's still, ample time to return your ballot in person here at the City Hall Voting Center. We're open now every day, so Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then on weekends, we'll review the times in an upcoming slide as well, and then polling places on election day, which will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So speaking of those official ballot drop boxes, originally we were going to have 17 throughout the city, but instead of 17, we're providing 34 of these official ballot drop boxes for this upcoming election. And this is a great new service for voters because they're available 24 hours a day for you to be able to drop off your ballot. And of course, on election day, the polls close at 8. These boxes will close at 8 p.m. as well. And, you can access, where these are located through that sfelections.org/ballot drop off link, as well as if you've received your voter information pamphlet, you do have a map there with the locations listed. So in case this is closer to you, than going to a polling place or a USPS box or the City Hall Voting Center, this is another great service that we want to introduce San Francisco voters to as part of that recent law change that now all voters will automatically receive their ballot. So thank you again for letting me introduce this new service to our San Francisco voters. And if you do decide, though, to return your ballot using a blue USPS box, and if you're going to wait till the last minute, I can't judge. I'm a last minute voter myself, but it's just so important to note that if you're using that USPS box that you check collection times, because if, for example, it's election day and it's 3 in the afternoon and that mail has already been picked up, even though the polls aren't closed, but that mail you already know is not going to get picked up any longer on that day, then your ballot could be late, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want to not count your vote, so we do encourage you to go ahead and take advantage of dropping it off at any of our in-person locations. So again, it could be one of those official ballot drop boxes. It could be the City Hall Voting Center. It can be your polling place. But we are also providing the link to usps.com/locator if you wanted to check where your local, your most local blue USPS box is located. We want to provide you all the tools, all the resources, so you can vote in a way that makes sense for you. A very exciting service that I want to continue to share is our How to Track Your Ballot. So just like you would track a package, you're able to track your ballot. So that way you know when we're mailing it to you, as you're anticipating it for future elections. And most importantly, so that you get reassurance of when we receive it back and when we count your vote so that you can be rest assured that, your vote has counted. You can also take advantage of our phone line, of our email address. We're very responsive, to all of these these methods of contacting the department. And we, of course, also encourage you to sign up at the where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. So that way you can sign up for either a text alert, an email alert, a voicemail, whatever works for you. So you get that peace of mind again that your vote has counted. And in-person voting options will review the City Hall Voting Center hours and the polling place information as well. As I was sharing with you just a little while ago, we're open now every day. So Monday through Friday here from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On weekends, our hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we'll be open this weekend. And then on election day, of course, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Will be available to help all voters. The San Francisco, we again continue to provide so many tools to make voting as accessible as possible. And here in San Francisco, we have our polling places. For this upcoming election, we're going to have over 300, 314 to be exact. And you can find your location either in the back cover of your voter information pamphlet, because that will also provide you information with accessibility, ramping, for example, that sort of information, so that way you're prepared. And of course, you can access our sfelections.org/my voting location web link. And this is a great tool too, because you can actually look at wait times. So if you're still concerned about, "Oh, I don't want to be in congregate settings, I don't want to wait in line for too long," you can kind of gauge that a little bit through this link. So you can, know what that looks like. And again, we encourage you to go to your local polling place, so that way your name will be in the roster of voters. But if not, a polling place is still a good location. If you have the right to vote and you want to vote at the last second, this is, again, a great resource. You'll be asked to vote provisionally, just so that way we can do our due diligence and check that you didn't already vote by mail, that you're not registered in another county, that sort of thing. So that's why, voting provisionally is still kind of, a safety net. But if you have the legal right to vote and you want to exercise that right to vote, then don't let anything stop you. Language resources are available at all of our in-person voting locations. So here in San Francisco, we're mandated to provide information in our threshold languages, which would be English, Chinese, Spanish, and Filipino. The state will also provide some additional services for voters that speak additional languages. And of course, voters are able to get those sorts of resources through the department. If language access is needed, we will provide that. In the city as well, we are happy and excited to share our accessible tools, such as our ballot marking device. That's this tablet that you see pictured here. So all voters can take advantage of the accessible services. It's not just folks with disabilities. It's a really cool way to vote if you haven't tried it before. It's different. It's cool because you're able to enlarge that font size again, just for access. If you're having vision problems, you're able to tap into the audio. If you don't want to read the information that's on screen, you're able to change the contrast. It has language access as well. So it'll have the information in English, Spanish, and Chinese, both Cantonese and Mandarin, and Filipino. Again, if you've never tried it, it's a really cool way to vote. And then for folks that do have, disabilities, we of course are able to provide this ATI remote that is also in Braille, if folks needed to do that, and connect to a headset for audio. And then also, of course, if folks needed to use additional accessibility tools, they're able to connect that, like a sip and puff, for example. So just really cool tools that the department offers. In-person assistance is also available through a poll worker. So, you can request any level of service that you'd like. If you want to vote privately and independently, of course, that is your right. But we do have poll workers at our polling place locations that will be able to be of service to you. We offer page magnifiers or pen grips, just to be able to hold on and mark your ballot, better, the page magnifier, so you can see the font a little bit larger if you need to. And of course, all voters are able to tap into our curbside service. So what is curbside service? Curbside service is the opportunity for a voter that, perhaps is still, being wary of going indoors and would prefer to vote from the outside of a polling place, even from the comfort of their car, they can either have anybody who's with them go and get a poll worker to, request curbside service, or they're able to contact the department and we can coordinate that for them. So again, a really cool tool that's available if folks are still, kind of skeptical to go inside a polling place. But we're able to provide that level of service again for these folks. And of course, somebody can contact the department by reaching us at the 415-554-4375 number, or sfvote at sfgov.org. These are the great tools to be able to make any sort of arrangements with the department, including if somebody, for example, needed to get a large print voter information pamphlet or request access to an MP3 version because they don't want to read that digest themselves. Lots of resources and tools. You just have to let us know what you need, and we will be able to provide it if we offer it. Okay. And then, of course, we want to continue to share with the community that, we encourage your participation. It's not just about, what we can do for you. It's also about how you're able to be a part of the team and, be really active in exercising your civic, engagement opportunities. So being a poll worker is a great way to meet your neighbors, help your community, earn a stipend. So you do get some money for your day of service. It can start anywhere from $180 and go up to $240. It's a great opportunity too for our young people. So if you have some teenagers at home, 16, 17 years old, they're able to participate. It's an opportunity for them not to only get that little bit of money, in their pocket for that one day of service. It's also an opportunity if they're in high school to perhaps even get some school credit, start building on a resume, make connections. So very exciting opportunity to get involved by being a poll worker. Lots of elections coming up this year, so lots of opportunity to get involved. Similar, if a one day of service is not enough and you're looking for something longer term, I want to provide this resource for you, sfgov.org/jobs, which is really your gateway into city employment. So if, for example, you want to be doing something like me, presenting out to the community, very rewarding job. I love it. And we know we're always encouraging our diverse community to come and be involved. So employment opportunities at the department, lots of different jobs that the department offers, not just presenting if that's not your thing. So we encourage you to be part of the team. And even if the department is not currently having open positions, this is a great tool too if you've ever contemplated city employment, because it will really connect you to other things that are happening here with City and County of San Francisco employment. With that, the floor is yours. I welcome and encourage your participation and your questions. And again, this is just another beginning to our conversations. If you think of something later on when you're, watching this, then please also consider us your resource and your tool. If your community would benefit from a presentation like this, we also welcome engagement opportunities to be out in community providing voter education, whether it's a resource table or a presentation like this. We invite you to get involved with the Department of Elections, so that way we can collaborate and really continue encouraging our San Francisco voters to be active, to be involved, and to exercise their right to vote and have access to that ballot box. Thank you again.
All right, Eve, great presentation, great information. It is an honor to be here in San Francisco. I always tell folks some of the benefits that we have across this country. You see it across the news. We're talking about voter suppression, certain states doing things to deter people from going out to vote. But here in San Francisco, you have multiple ways to get engaged online. You can go in person. You can do it via mail, by the phone. Number of opportunities and resources. So just happy to be here in this city and just happy to be a part of the process. Again, folks, go out and get involved. This is very important. This is a special election, as you can see, especially when we talk about our young folks. Okay, these board members at the school board, these decisions are very, very critical to our education for our young folks. And, go out and let your voice be heard. You want to make sure that you go through all of the information, understand what you're voting for. And again, you have the San Francisco Election Department. If you have questions or concerns, they'll walk you through the process. Great services for all our folks that's dealing with disabilities. They have services as well for you. So just happy to see that as well. And we're just going to keep on doing our part to make sure that all this information gets out to the community. And we're just going to make sure that we're going to do our part to make sure all the way up into the election that we get that information out to the community so that people can be involved and they know the location. Over 314 locations. So it is an opportunity for you to get out. There's some weekend opportunities to put your ballot up. Definitely you want to take advantage of this, as you know, some places you don't get this opportunity. So very important community information community. Do your part, be heard, get out and vote, exercise your right, and you know, be a part of this community civic process. But Eve, what a great presentation. You know, always good to see you. You're always out in community, you're always stepping up. And you know, we appreciate you, you know, coming back again. You're a woman of your word. You told us last year as things come up that you will be back and making sure that anything comes up, you're going to get it out to the community. And I know we have a number of other elections coming up, but also in her presentation, she talked about the assembly seat. This is a very, very important seat. There's a number of candidates running for this seat. Community, we have to get out and make sure that our voices are heard, as these seats really impact the day-to-day living and the day-to-day needs we need here in San Francisco, and it's very, very important. So hopefully you all will be able to get out and utilize your time to get your vote in and make sure that your words and your voice is heard in this process. But I'm looking in the comments. I don't see any comments from the community saying anything that they don't know. I mean, what a great presentation you put through. Very straightforward, forward and informative. Again, we will be replaying it. We'll put it out on our social media. The SF election information is up on the screen. Eve information has been up throughout the presentation. If you all would like to contact or you have any further questions, definitely use those as well to connect, and she will return your call and your email and give you all of the information that is needed. But again, thank you for coming back, doing your presentation tonight. I know you're a mom and you got to go get to the babies. We don't want to hold you
One
up.
baby.
One baby. Look, like, stop, John. Don't be doing it like that. Well, you know, we just want to thank you again, and we'll continue to make sure that the information gets out to community. It was very straightforward, and I'm just happy to see you again, getting this information to our community. Sometimes folks say, hey, we don't be knowing what the process is, especially for our incarcerated folks. I mean, you did a very, very great job of getting that information out as well, because I think a lot of times, you know, people just be confused on like, can I vote? Can I not vote? And it's just great to have that type of information there, you know, for community.
Yes, and thank you. And again, this is also an opportunity to share that just today we put out a request for proposals as well for local nonprofits that are working with these, marginalized communities that want to help us get the word out about, voting. Especially for our vulnerable community members, we want to make sure that we're partnering with you, that you have the opportunity to receive some money to help us in carrying out the work. We want to continue reaching out to the community so that folks are participating in the decisions that are being made for them. So, please get involved with the Department of Elections. We encourage your participation, be a part of our advisory committees. There's lots of ways to get involved, not just through voting. Registration is just the first part, but definitely use those tools to engage, be part of the process, and help shape what we're doing out for the community. So thank you, John. Thank you, both sides of the conversation. Thank you, Mary, and the both sides of the conversation team for the opportunity to be here and continue to penetrate the city with this information that we should have access to.
No, thank you very much. Great presentation. And yeah, we'll continue to do it. We'll make sure we get that information all the way up until the election. And we're just happy to see you again. And I know as we move into the further future of elections that'll be coming up, we'll definitely get you back on and make sure that we get that out to the community. So very, very important stuff, and especially the information about our unhoused folks, because a lot of times we hear that, how do I participate? And they even have ways for you, if you don't have an address, to get access to vote. And I think that's very important, as we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to have their voice heard, as there are so many concerns and issues across this city. We want to make sure that all of our residents have an opportunity to be a part of the process. And that's what real equity looks like. So thank you again. With that being said, thank you, Eve. We'll see you on the next one. But community, as we start wrapping this up, we got our Sunday conversation coming up with the Black Panther Party on February the 20th. Also, we're going to have our Hidden Gem segment next Tuesday coming up, as we will continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses, as well as those community leaders and organizations that are doing positive things to impact our community. And we're going to have a number of touching conversations that we're going to be talking about. You know, how do we impact our community? What does that leadership look like? And some of the things that we have to do. There's a number of issues that are impacting our communities, and there's a number of community organizations that are working together to try to fix some of the things that are impacting our community, so that the experiences that our community folks have when we're dealing and engaging in our community organizations can be something that is very, very open, and something that they feel is transparent and works for community as well. So we're putting a number of things together, a lot of work to do, and we're just going to keep pushing through as we get through. We'll be out in the community this week. You'll be seeing us, both sides of the conversation. We'll be at all these different events happening. We'll be there for the Sip and Paint Valentine's conversation. This is going to be a huge one. Shout out to SF Black Wall Street and a number of the community organizations that's going to come be a part of this. This should be fun. Come out, get your ticket, paint, and then enjoy a wonderful conversation with the community folks for the evening. With that being said, thank you all for tuning in for tonight's Educational Thursday. I hope you found this information very important as we are approaching our election, the special election here in San Francisco. To all of our families who has kids in the school district, these votes are very, very important. So hopefully you all are involved with this process, and you know, it's very important. So with that being said, I'm going to say thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the good weather. The rest of this weekend should be amazing. Beautiful sunshine weather. Get out and enjoy some of it. I know we've been in the house for a long time, but come out. All this money we pay to be here in San Francisco and the Bay Area. Go out and check out the beaches. Go out and check the hill sites, and go check some of the sites that we have in this beautiful, beautiful city. So with that being said, thank you all, and we'll see you on our next live segment. And we'll see you this weekend at our events. So have a blessed one. Be safe out there, and we're going to continue to do our part to make sure that we get this information to the community. Thank you all.